running helped me become consistent, or that running helped me become mentally very strong. Running helped me to take on.
Because in 30 seconds or 1 minute, you want to create a shareable content. So everything starts with a negative that mutual funds are bad. Or for example, जो भी आप खा रहे हो बस everything is there.
I've never thought about a 100-kilometer race as a 100-kilometer race. It's always been divided into different parts, and those parts could be as simple as saying it's a 25-kilometer loop that I have to do 4 times.
Careers are not built over one posting or one promotion or one assignment or one company. It's built over 3.5-4 decades, and we usually end up seeing people only at the top. Probably the best investment in terms of your health insurance could actually be just taking out 5 hours a week.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Just work out. And
but I'll tell you what, Nishant, I would, and it's a bit dark, but.
Hello everyone, welcome to season 5 of Trifantry Chronicles. The theme this year is a different one. It's not just about fitness, it's about finance, fitness and future. And we have the perfect candidate for this topic, finance, fitness, future. We have with us Rashmi Mohanty, who's leading the entire financial mandate is SBI Cards based out of Gurgaon. She's an ultra runner. She's run numerous races, which we'll be discussing, and the future. She's also at the helm of leadership. So she's privy to all the technologies unfolding. Thank you so much, Rashmi, for doing this, taking out time from your busy schedule and high-flying life and joining us today.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure and an honor.
It is your LinkedIn or professional achievements are plenty, but on the personal side your running achievements are even more, especially when you talk about the endurance community. I being an endurance athlete, I respect people who do go above and beyond just the half or the full marathons, and just to be able to go out there not just for one season but year after year after year, decades. That's just incredible. And hence I thought, let me reach out to you and see if we can share some of your joys, wisdom and learnings with all the audience.
Sure. Thank you, Nishant. Thank you for having me here. Yes, it's been an incredible journey, and it's a journey which actually started in my childhood.
Right.
I'm born and brought up in Delhi. I did my schooling, my graduation from Delhi, and as a child, I was maybe my parents are not athletes, or they are not that active in that sense. That they are very fit. My father passed away too soon because of an illness, but my mother's at 80 is also a very fit woman.
Right.
So maybe it was in the genes, probably. But from the very beginning in school, the sports period, the games period or the sports period, as it's called, excited me. And as a child, I have participated for the school team. In you think of a sport, and I was on that team. So be it basketball, I'm not a very tall girl, but be it basketball, be it volleyball, hockey, all of those sports. So this whole active lifestyle was something which happened for me from the very beginning. Actually, when I think back about myself as a child, I would like to categorize myself as a very hyper child. I still remember that even during exam times, when I would be studying, sitting on the desk studying for hours, I had to take a break, and that break actually meant doing some kind of an activity. So whether it was just going down for a walk, whether it was just getting up and putting on some music and dancing, but I think I had this energy which had to be channeled, and I'm glad that the school gave me an opportunity to be able to channel that. But of all those things that I did to keep myself active, I think running was my passion. On the sports day, the annual sports day, if I wasn't participating in as many events as possible and get the medals back home, it was something that would not give me would be very something that would really disturb me a lot.
Right.
So it's been there since the childhood. Then of course life happened. I got married. I had kids. Started working, and somewhere running just took a backseat.
Right.
And very consciously, I was, I think at that time 38. I had my second child, and I was obviously going to turn 40, which is when I decided to take my health in my hands. And the only way to get my health back and do some change, bring about some change in my fitness or my health or my lifestyle was something which I just knew how to do very easily, which was put on my shoes and step on the treadmill at that time. And eventually, I moved from the treadmill to the road, from a very slow trot, doing a 5K to a 10K to a 21 to a 42 and then to a 100 as well. So it's been a long journey, but it's a journey which has given me a lot. It's given me, I think, immense happiness for one.
Correct.
The joy that running brings in. In fact, I just posted on Insta a couple of days back a pic of mine running in the rains. And I had friends who messaged me or who called me up, who reached out to me saying, "My God, Rashmi, how can you run in the rain?" And I said, you've not experienced the joy of running, of being outside, if you've not enjoyed being out there in the rains. And there is this colleague of mine who said that looking at you, I'm so inspired. And while she doesn't run, she walks. She said, tomorrow or the next morning, any morning when there's raining, I will not just get back into my bed, but I will actually step out and walk in the rain and enjoy the same as you are doing. So, yeah, it's been a wonderful journey so far. I've gained
Yeah.
a lot. I've gained a whole lot of friends, Nishant. I cannot
Hmm.
even tell you that today that the support that I get from this running
Hmm.
community and the friends, people who can just call up any time of the day. And if you are training for something and all you have to do is just put a post out and saying, "Hey, look, I'm doing a long run tomorrow. I need somebody to come and join me." And the people who just turn up,
Absolutely.
who turn up for your personal and professional success, it's been a wonderful thing.
Absolutely. You've actually described it so beautifully, taking us through the journey of the entire childhood to your current life. I just want to double click on the psychological aspect of how sports has helped you to shape up as a working professional. And obviously, you've achieved what you've achieved is a testament of not just your, I would say, intellectual capabilities, but also there's so much more, right? That is a culmination where you reach today. And I'm thinking that probably sports has taken been a large part of it. Can you double click on it and tell
So
us how that
I
has
will
helped?
I will actually use the words which are very cliched.
Hmm.
But the thing is that they are cliched for the person who hears it. They're
Hmm.
not cliches for the person who's gone through it.
Hmm.
So when I'm saying that running helped me become consistent, or that running helped me become mentally very strong, running helped me to take on a lot more than what I'm capable of. So today I don't shy away from taking on additional work, whether it is at work, whether it is something at home or with friends. It may just sound very cliched to somebody who doesn't understand these things, but someone who's just gone through it in her lifetime, I know what it has got to me. I know what it has brought me in my life. So it's helped me, as I said, take on risks, obviously calculated risks. In fact, it's a conversation that me and my husband had once, and I was telling him, he gets worried sometimes when I'm out there running in the trails or in the jungles or in the hills, etc., or even out there on the road. I'm aging, and I tell him, I said, I take calculated risks. I know where to stop, but I know how much I can extend myself and what can I do. So don't worry about
Hmm.
me.
Hmm.
And I think that's the thing. So take on risks. Look at the entire challenge or a problem that comes in your life, whatever be it, in a very bite
Hmm.
size kind of things. Don't start thinking about, for example, I've never thought about a 100-kilometer race as a 100-kilometer race.
Hmm.
It's always been divided into different parts, and those
Hmm.
parts could be as simple as saying it's a 25-kilometer loop that I have to do 4 times.
Right.
And so let me think about the first 25 and then the next 25 and the next 25.
Hmm.
If it's a point to point race and I start thinking about the milestones in between, let me just get here.
Right.
Let me get to the next aid station. Let me do another 5 kilometers. Let me do another 10 kilometers.
Correct.
And I worry about the next 10 kilometers. Am I fueling myself well? Am I, drinking water, fluids, electrolytes, whatever it is? Am I hope I'm not stretching myself too much
Hmm.
and therefore be in the zone, be in that rhythm where I can actually preserve my energy and continue for the next lap as well.
Hmm.
So it just helped me in a lot of these things.
Hmm.
I think if I have to sum it up, I would say it's made me mentally very strong.
Correct.
Today, nothing surprises me.
Hmm.
And also it's also helped me to think on the fly. When you're running a 40 or a 50 or a 60 or 100 kilometers, there are so many things that can go wrong, and you have to at that point in time improvise. You have to think on the fly, on the
Hmm.
go. What am I going to do? And sometimes it could be as difficult a call to say I will not continue, and I've done
Right.
that as well. Okay? but
Hmm.
but it just kind of has made me mentally strong to
Hmm.
take on life's challenges.
Absolutely, I think you've summed it up really well. Sports, or specifically running, I think kind of helps you to not just develop your short term processing or mindset, but also the long term thinking, the mindset which you need for your career as well. Right? Careers are not built over one posting or one promotion or one
Absolutely.
assignment or one company. It's built over 3.5, 4 decades, and we usually end up seeing people only at the top,
Only at the
and
top.
we,
True.
we feel acha, okay, they have done this, they were from X institution and did they divide qualification, and that's why they got promoted so fast, right? That's usually the case. But it's usually that having that long term mindset and doing the right
And you
thing
have to
and
be
taking.
consistent, Nishant. You have to be
Hmm.
consistent. You can't just rest on your laurels. It's not
Hmm.
that you've taken, for example, it's the same thing as running and as a career
Hmm.
as well. That you've gotten a great posting, and you
Right.
think you've arrived in life and that's about it. It isn't like that. You have to continue to perform. You have to
Right.
continue to think as to what you're going to be doing next.
Right.
It's the same thing in the running thing as well. When I did my 21, I didn't think at that time I will do a
Hmm.
42, but gradually you start looking towards the
Hmm.
next
Hmm.
milestone, and they say, oh, yeah,
Right.
I think I can do a 42. Let me aim for it, and then
Hmm.
beyond. So you have to be consistent, uh,
Right.
and you also have to make sure that you plan it well over a longer
Hmm.
period.
Okay, so while there are so many topics to cover, I just put a teaser on my WhatsApp stories, and I asked people if you have specific questions for Rashmi Mohanty, and there was one peculiar question other than what we have already listed.
Okay.
One question was that and it was from a girl who's trying to make it in her career, and she was asking. How do you plan your career? How do you try to reach the leadership position at 40 or 42? While I know the answer might be again cliched, but let's just try to answer that.
So I think, as I said earlier, that the only way to get to the top is through consistent performance. I will also say that when it comes to consistent performance, it could
Hmm.
be also in a role which is not of your choice.
Right.
There have been instances in my career, there have been two or three roles where, and by the way, they were with my choice in the sense that
Hmm.
I had opted for those roles. But
Hmm.
in hindsight, they weren't something that were going to help me get far, or
Hmm.
they were not roles that turned out to be what I had planned or what I had thought they will be.
Hmm.
And therefore, there was a bit of a disappointment in after I'd taken up those roles.
Hmm.
And in one case, the circumstances changed, the markets completely changed, and I was
Hmm.
in a role which I had not signed up for, but I had
Hmm.
to perform. So I
Hmm.
think one of the things is to be a consistent performer, and which also means sometimes just sucking it up,
Hmm.
and also in a role or in a job which you don't like, or
Hmm.
which is not up your, something which gives you happiness, but you still have to perform. You
Hmm.
just have to suck it up and you have to just perform. You can't let one decision of yours
Hmm.
take away that fact that in your report card
Hmm.
you can have a miss. I think that's one thing. The second thing is that, and which is probably I would say that from my own career, that
Hmm.
you will never get there in 2 years, 5 years, and we've just spoken about that. It takes a lot of time to get there, but you have to start thinking about
Hmm.
what is it that you need to add into your life,
Hmm.
whether by way of a degree or
Hmm.
a course or a work experience to get
Right.
to the next level. Okay, I think that's something which is very important. What people usually do is that they reach a place,
Hmm.
either they get lazy,
Hmm.
or they expect that now that I'm here,
Hmm.
the company should anyway promote me to the next level. Okay?
Right.
But there is something, every level, every grade that you're in requires a certain skill set, a
Hmm.
certain mindset, more importantly, and you
Right.
have to build on that. So I think
Hmm.
these two things I would say in a very nutshell kind of a thing, in a very summary kind of a thing. You have to be a consistent performer, and
Right.
you have to make sure that you keep equipping yourself, you keep adding value to yourself, whether by way of on the job learning, whether by way of doing a course, adding a degree to your resume, whatever it is. But you have to
Right.
keep adding some skill set, and very important, mindset. You have to have that mindset of the next level. You have to
Hmm.
start thinking, if my manager has to think about this problem or this
Hmm.
situation, what will he or she do? And
Hmm.
that's how you develop your mindset.
Correct. I think, and you spoke about it earlier, is the ability to not sit on your laurels and keep,
Absolutely.
once you've reached X level, you have to start building on the next, and
Yeah,
keep giving more than your probably what is already
absolutely.
being given to you.
Yeah.
All right. So, moving to the second section of our conversation, which is around finance and specifically around personal finance. And before we started shooting, you were telling me about your two young boys, aged 17 and 21. They are perfect mix of Gen Zs, and then they
Yeah.
get all the information from millennial or late millennial. Let's address personal finance and what would be your framework or pillars of investing for youngsters, and not just Gen Zs, but probably early young millennials as well.
So, Nishant, actually, if you look at and I will try and divide this discussion or this topic
Hmm.
into two parts. There is this
Hmm.
whole Gen Z, which is the privileged lot. There is a different kind of advice I
Aren't
would
we
give them.
all? Aren't we?
No, I don't think our generation was a privileged lot. We worked hard. Okay,
All
we
right.
spoiled our kids,
Yeah.
and they are a pampered and a privileged lot. So there's a
Yeah.
very different kind of an advice I would actually give out to those people. And then there are others who are, wanting to make a mark for
Hmm.
themselves, and in the
Hmm.
process also would like to have the comfort, the safety, and
Hmm.
I wouldn't mind saying the luxury of life as well. Okay? And
Right.
for them, you have to look at things very differently. And probably the second set of people is what we were when we started earning. When we started working and we started earning. And like all people, I also made a lot of mistakes in my financial planning. I think the very first mistake was that as we were passing out from IIM Bangalore, we were given a credit card by a leading foreign bank. And we thought here is a card which can help us get anything and everything that we wanted. And obviously, we over leveraged without realizing the kind of interest that we are paying. And suddenly, when wisdom came, we realized that we were paying a lot more in interest than the principal. So I think that's one thing I would tell people, that uh, lever, but lever to your capacity. Think about your cash flows. And again, when you're levering yourself up for debt, don't just think about the current cash flows, because your cash flows will increase. Today, if you're earning 5,000, tomorrow you will earn 8,000. The 3 years later, you will be earning 10,000 or 20,000 or 50,000. So you lever thinking, planning all of your cash flows that you're going to be seeing over the shorter
Hmm.
period and also over a longer period, and that's how you take a decision on how much debt that you have to take. Whether it's a credit card debt, whether it's a personal loan, whether it's a
Hmm.
home loan, whatever be it.
Okay.
And all I can tell you from my own example, and I'll have to keep bringing my husband into this discussion, because
Hmm.
for us it was a joint discussion, joint
Right.
decision in terms of how we wanted to do our financial planning. We stretched ourselves. So when we bought our first home, we did stretch ourselves, but we also knew that we were young. We knew that our salaries will increase, and
Right.
therefore we took that. Um, in a way, a kind of an extra burden for the first few years, to say that
Hmm.
eventually everything will get paid out. And that's exactly what happened. So
Hmm.
when you're leveraging, be conservative to
Hmm.
know what your cash flows are going to look like over the next few years,
Hmm.
but be also aggressive enough to take
Hmm.
that plunge.
Right.
Okay, that's number one.
And is this relating to, sorry, just to a specific question on this? Are you only referring to investment in a particular house, or
It could be
maybe some
anything. I
kind
mean,
of a
for us, it was
loan?
property. It was
Okay.
property, and
Okay.
therefore it was a home loan that I brought out. But it could also be about, I don't want to give stock market as an example to borrow and to
Right.
invest in stock market. And by the way, there's nothing wrong in that also, but there's
Sure.
a limit to that you can do. But yeah, let's take that example as more for a house. It
Sure.
could be for a car as well, Nishant.
Sure.
When you know that you want to buy a car and you want to buy
Hmm.
a good car, and you start
Hmm.
looking at just your current cash flows and say, okay, this is what I'm getting today, but your
Sure.
car is going to last you for the next 7, 8 years. Okay, and
Right.
therefore you start thinking about that. Can I buy one level up? So it could be
Hmm.
anything. That's
Hmm.
consumption. This is investment, but it could be
Hmm.
leveraging. Could be for anything. But you just need to make sure that you keep your cash flows in mind.
Sure.
That's point number one. I think the other thing is that obviously you have to save for you have to save for the obligations that you will have
Hmm.
definitely.
Hmm.
Whether as a young couple you start saving for the time that when your kids would need money and you will need
Right.
money to send them to college, or for their I don't want to use the word wedding, but I think we'll
Hmm.
just stick to education only to save
Right.
money for their education. My
But
parents
you
my
can't
parents
really
never saved money for our wedding, by the way. They said, let me.
you can't navigate as being an Indian parent
Yeah,
also.
yeah, you
So
can't navigate that. So somewhere at the back of your mind, that whole thing does play. But let's just
yeah.
focus on education, or it could be any other emergency that you may actually,
Right.
face in your life. So you have
Sure.
to start saving for, for obligations and for
Hmm.
emergencies as well.
Sure.
And obviously, there my only mantra that I
Hmm.
would share, which is what all other financial planners will also tell you, it will be to diversify. I made the mistake.
Hmm.
Early on in my career, I joined a foreign bank. We were getting paid very well, and as a result of that, and mutual funds had just kind of opened up
Right.
as an investment avenue. This I'm talking about mid '90s, late
Sure.
'90s, and I went and put all our money and our savings into equity mutual funds.
Hmm.
And then the dot com bubble happened, the Asian
Right.
crisis happened, and the NAVs dropped. And my God, the two of us just sat at home and were like thinking, what have we done with our money? That money's kind of all gone away.
Right.
We
Right.
eventually got all of that back, but for that 1 2 years, it was a very worrying thought.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
so the idea would always be to diversify. So today, for example, when I look at my portfolio, I've got a good chunk of money in debt instruments, whether it is debt mutual funds or bonds, into equity mutual funds, into equity shares as well, some bit of property as well. So I think
Right.
you have to diversify depending on whatever is available to you as your portfolio money is what you need to diversify, and that's exactly
Hmm.
you kind of talked about my sons, and that's
Hmm.
exactly what I've been telling my elder one as well,
Hmm.
who spent a year working abroad, that he needs to put money not just in stocks because it's
Hmm.
very easy to get carried away. Uh,
Correct.
Nvidia's gone up
Hmm.
4%, 2%. Amazon's going up. Let me just put all my money in Amazon and in Nvidia. But no, you
Hmm.
can't do that. You have to put
Right.
money in other instruments as well. I think that's the second thing that I will tell
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
young generation from my own life. you know do your research well.
Hmm.
So when I'm saying doing research well, and I'm going to again bring in the property angle to it,
Hmm.
we think property prices are going to go up, and so
Hmm.
therefore we kind of say खरीद लेते हैं ये तो definitely जाएगा ही जाएगा, and
Correct.
property as you've seen in the last many decades is only appreciated.
Right.
So there are pockets which have appreciated more than other pockets. Okay,
Right.
so do your research well. It may
Hmm.
be the same asset class. Take an example of equity, for example. You want to invest in shares.
Hmm.
In my personal portfolio, hold a lot of blue chip companies, and I
Right.
started investing in them way back, and I'm
Hmm.
still holding on to those shares, and they are like at some really exorbitant kind
Sure.
of multiples and percentage returns right now.
Hmm.
So you
Hmm.
have to, one, choose your asset class
Right.
depending on your own risk appetite. Two, within the asset class, do your research and
Hmm.
then put your money where you think you will get the best bang for your buck. I think the last thing that I will talk about is something that I've been doing personally for a few years now.
Hmm.
So as a family, when we were a couple and then we had our kids, we were taking our vacations every year in the summers.
Right.
And there was an expense that we used to incur for those
Right.
vacations, or it could be a vacation in the summers and then another short one in the winters around
Right.
Christmas, etc. Every month, Nishant, even till this date,
Hmm.
I put away a small sum for
Hmm.
living my life. Okay,
Wow. Hmm.
and I know that if that money was to just lie in my account, I will spend it.
Hmm.
I'll go buy something which
Right.
probably will not give me that much joy as
Hmm.
much as when that entire corpus becomes available to me
Hmm.
after a year, after 2 years, after 3 years, whatever be the time frame, and
Hmm.
I can do a very big bang
Hmm.
celebration of life. So every month, even till date, and I've got two things running.
Hmm.
You will call me a little bit old fashioned on that, but I have one recurring deposit where I
Right.
deposit money every month. It's
Hmm.
a small sum; it's not a very big sum, but
Hmm.
every month there is a money that is taken out of my salary account and which goes into the RD. And trust me, every time that RD has matured, I've only spent it on travel
Hmm.
or on doing something for the family, something big, celebrating life, as I said. And I
Right.
have a SIP running in a mutual fund as well.
Hmm.
And the redemptions of those two,
Hmm.
the recurring deposit and the SIP and in
Right.
the mutual fund, is just expense. It is
Expenses.
not saving. It's money that I keep aside. So I think that's something which I will tell everybody. Please do
Hmm.
that. When you take
Right.
out 5,000 rupees, and I started. By the way, when I started doing that, it was 5,000 rupees a month. Today, of course, I
Right.
can contribute a little bit more, but when I
Sure.
started doing that, it was just 5,000 rupees a month, which I used to
Hmm.
put in an RD. And I knew if that money was in my account, I will use
Hmm.
it up somewhere. I
Correct.
will go in my credit, paying off my credit card bills,
Hmm.
and go buy something stupid, and that money
Correct.
will be lost forever. I
Hmm.
started just putting away that 5,000 every month into a recurring deposit, and then of course
Sure.
a few years later, I also added a SIP in a mutual fund as well.
Hmm.
But I do
Hmm.
that, and that corpus is sacrosanct for living life. We I feel that and
Hmm.
if I look at my parents' generation, they probably in the and at that time there were no credit cards, no personal loans, nothing. So for them, I think their entire life just went thinking about savings,
Hmm.
savings for their kids, future,
Correct.
savings for themselves when they become old, uh,
Right.
and they probably did not think about so much about living life,
Hmm.
right? And I feel that it's something which is very important for us. And
Hmm.
Nishant, I think it's very
Hmm.
important, and I want to, and I'm talking about it in a bit more,
Hmm.
detail, is
Please.
also because
Yeah.
the current generation is living on experiences.
Hmm.
Yeah, for them it's very important. They're not living on luxury items. If
Hmm.
you read about the current
Correct.
generation, the mindset, it's more about saying, I want to feel good,
Yeah.
not by buying something tangible, by the intangible, the experiences. And therefore
Correct.
it's important. And for that matter, even if it is tangible, my son
Hmm.
has this really very premium watch brand that he has in his head that he wants to buy. Okay, and obviously initially he used to look up to me and say, maybe my mom will buy this for me for
Hmm.
my graduation day or for my
Hmm.
first day on the job. But I
Hmm.
made it very clear. I said, you please start saving, and this is the only way you can save. Just put
Hmm.
aside every month some part of your earnings. And it was, as I said, working last year, or the pocket money that you get. Just put it aside, and one day you'll have that corpus to go buy that watch on
Correct.
your own. You don't have to look to me to buy that. So,
Correct.
so put aside something, not
Hmm.
thinking about the future, not thinking
Hmm.
about the emergencies that life may throw at you,
Correct.
not thinking about your own, obligations, as I said earlier, that you may
Yeah.
have, but for yourself.
Right. On this point, I have two questions, and one question is actually from the teaser that I put out. This boy, 25 years old, asks me that to ask you. We we believe in savings and all, but they believe in experiences. But how do you balance when the corpus is so small? How do you balance between saving for the future, which they say that we don't know what will happen in the future. Probably we're already heading for a doomsday. Why should I save for 20 years from now versus not enjoying today? And also because there are when I asked him why are you asking this, so he said in your time you did not have enough companies to spend it on food, clothing, all of that, and
That
now
is
we
true.
have that, and we are actually quite used to it. So how do you balance between balance your small corpus between experiences and saving for the future?
So, as I said, Nishant, earlier, that everybody's corpus is going to be different. You'll have
Hmm.
people who will be earning 50,000 rupees, and you'll have people who will be earning 5 lakh rupees a month.
Sure.
You have to, and there are enough, if you read books and if you listen to a lot of podcasts, people are going to tell you, put away 20% of your
Hmm.
money, of your monthly salary into savings.
Hmm.
Put away 20% for this, put away
Hmm.
20% for this, and 30% for your expenses, and so on and so forth. So you'll hear all of
Sure.
that. I won't give any prescription around those percentages.
Okay.
But I would say that for each one of us,
Hmm.
you will have to make sure that you decide how you want to allocate your
Hmm.
monthly salary or whatever money that you get, monthly income that you get, between a couple of things.
Hmm.
I will start off with living your life. That's very important for me, and I
Sure.
will not repeat the whole thing again. But
Yeah.
living your life, paying off your expenses,
Yeah.
right? And investing, whether it is investing for in equity stocks, whether it is
Hmm.
in mutual funds, or whether you've taken a loan to buy a property and you're paying off
Hmm.
an EMI, I would call that also as an investing only.
Sure.
So living your life, expenses,
Hmm.
investing for the future, and then you have to keep aside some money,
Hmm.
which is your emergency fund. So
Right.
I would like to think about trying to see whatever corpus you have into these four things. Now, depending on the stage of your life, if
Sure.
you're a young person who's just starting out, who's just starting to work out, maybe the emergency fund is not that important.
Hmm.
Okay. So for the
Sure.
first few years, you may not put anything in that, but
Hmm.
eventually you'll have to start putting some money into that. And when I'm saying emergency fund, it could be paying off your insurance premium, for example, your
Hmm.
medical insurance premium or your
Sure.
health insurance premium, or it could be just putting money aside
Hmm.
for a rainy day. It could be any of those, ways, avenues to save, but maybe it's not important for you right now.
Hmm.
And so maybe when you look at these four things,
Hmm.
it will be more skewed towards expenses and
Hmm.
saving for living your life, maybe
Hmm.
a little bit on investing, and maybe zero on emergency fund. But
Sure.
as you grow older, as you
Hmm.
start realizing that there is no doomsday, by the way,
Hmm.
life is going to continue. You will have to start thinking about the change in your allocation across these four categories. I think
Right.
that's the way to think about it.
All right. All
And
right.
remember, I will go back to that example. I
Hmm.
started putting just 5,000 rupees of my
Hmm.
total sum, and I was earning enough. That 5,000 was a very small sum.
Hmm.
But the first year when that deposit matured and I was able to spend it on the travel that we were doing, I realized,
Hmm.
oh my God, look, this bonanza came to me. So I
Sure.
obviously doubled the amount the next year.
Hmm.
So I'm just saying that it depends on your capacity and the corpus that you
Hmm.
have, and
Hmm.
depending on what stage of life you are in, you would
Hmm.
do the allocation accordingly.
Sure. Sure.
Start
So on
small,
this.
but start.
Absolutely. I think there are certain parallels between, let's say, a fitness or maybe running versus and finance as well. That if you keep doing the same workouts over and over again, you will not become better, or that corpus or that run will not become better. But if you continue to diversify, like you mentioned, do different kinds of workouts, tempos and intervals and hills and fartleks and all of that, but in the same week probably you become better. Similarly, I think in your finance, if you add between equity and debt and various other stocks and various other opportunities, I think then your corpus can increase. All
Absolutely.
right, so one more question that comes to my mind, especially for people in the age group of 25 and above, so 25, 30, 35, and kids these days, the product managers and young startup kids are earning really well, right?
Yeah.
For 40, 50, 60 lakhs, some of them are earning even 70 lakhs. But the fundamentals of, so in which case, the theory that we discussed obviously holds, but here they need to invest even more. But let's go to the basics of financial planning, which is protection. So what are your thoughts on having a good health insurance and life insurance, and why should any of these individuals learn more about health insurance, life insurance, and invest in it?
So on life insurance, I would say it becomes more relevant when you have dependents
Right.
on you.
Sure.
You may have your parents who have grown old,
Yeah.
and therefore you would definitely want them to be secured if something,
Hmm.
God forbid, if something, or they're dependent on you, then you would
Right.
want them to be secured in case something happens to that person. So it will all depend upon, do you have dependence on you?
Sure.
I didn't take a life insurance till I got married.
Right.
It's only late. It's only once I got married I took my first life insurance, and of
Hmm.
course I kept increasing the quantum
Hmm.
as we had kids, and and we realized that if something were to happen to me, the
Sure.
loss of cash flows to the family will be significant, and therefore in some form or manner I wanted to just make up for that. So life insurance becomes important if you have dependent, and then you have to start thinking about it. Again, I would say, don't think about buying a big bang life insurance when you turn 30, 40, 45. Some people think अभी नहीं करते हैं 40 के होंगे तब एक बड़ा term insurance ले लेंगे या something like that.
Sure.
I would say keep buying small
Correct.
small value, 1 lakh, 5 lakh, whatever, 3 lakhs, 7 lakh, 10 lakh, whatever. That's therefore the life insurance comes in at that point in time.
Sure.
In today's world, in my opinion, health insurance is mandatory for everybody.
Right.
Okay, now we've lived through times when we just took a health insurance, or we were dependent only on the medical insurance that we had from our companies,
Yes.
because they
Correct.
cover your family, they cover you, they cover your family. But the kind of illnesses that we are seeing now, the
Correct.
kind of medical expense that one may have to incur, God forbid, if
Correct.
something goes wrong, is huge.
Right.
And I've seen families fail
Hmm. Hmm.
altogether just because somebody in their family had a very serious illness,
Right.
and just paying the medical expenses has
Correct.
completely changed the economic status of that
Hmm.
family. So I would think that besides whatever medical insurance that, or the benefits that you get from your company,
Hmm.
one
Hmm.
should definitely start adding on with a medical insurance from outside, independent of that as well, a personal medical insurance as well.
Correct.
Again, there's an age.
Hmm.
I'm not saying you do that at 25. I'm
Right.
not even going to say you should do that at 35, but probably at 40, 45 is when
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
should start thinking about adding a medical insurance
Hmm.
cover over and beyond whatever your companies are providing you.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because as you age, and the other thing is that what happens also is that the kids these days, and I'm going to use
Hmm.
the word kids, but men and women these days, they
Correct.
have this desire in them to retire early. You are
Right.
seeing people who are leaving their corporate careers at 40.
Correct.
Now, when at 40, when you go and take a medical insurance, the
Yeah.
costs are very high because you don't have a history. Now, of course, I think the insurance companies do allow and give you the benefit of the insurance that you were
Sure.
continuing with your company as well. So now they do that. But till
Correct.
about a few years back, that also wasn't there.
Correct.
Okay, and suddenly, and also what happens is that when you suddenly have to take a medical insurance and the premium has to be paid out, which you've not done so far ever,
Hmm.
that burden looks like a lot to you. But if you continue to build your history with an insurance company, it just
Hmm.
becomes easy for you. So I think given that people are hanging up their corporate boots
Hmm.
very early these days, instead of
Correct.
waiting for a retirement at 60 or 50, 55, whatever, I
Hmm.
think insurance, medical insurance, personal medical insurance is something
Hmm.
which everybody should think about, especially after 35.
Absolutely. On that note, in fact, I also wanted to add that probably the best investment in terms of your health insurance could actually be just taking out 5 hours a week
Oh yes,
to
absolutely,
just
absolutely.
work out, and
But I'll tell you what,
probably the
Nishant, I
best.
would, and it's a bit dark, but I
Hmm.
think you and I both have heard so many
Yeah.
also stories of really very fit people
Yeah.
just collapsing. So I
Correct.
think, and there was a discussion that was happening on our own college WhatsApp group a couple of weeks back on
Hmm.
how your health checkups are very important.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
so one has to keep doing that, and therefore it's also important to have that insurance cover for yourself.
Absolutely. All right.
Yeah,
So,
and I think you can still save a little
yeah.
if you take out those 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day. Absolutely.
Correct. I think most people end up getting bogged down by the expenses that they have to incur for, let's say, a gym, and
Yeah,
then all the apparels and shoes and this and that. And then, unfortunately, the influencers, fitness influencers, as well as finfluencers, are not doing justice to both.
yeah, true.
So, because in 30 seconds or 1 minute you want to create a shareable content, so everything starts with a negative,
Yeah.
that mutual funds are bad, or for example, जो भी आप खा रहे हो बस everything is there. So coffee is bad for you, the next reel is coffee is really good for you. अगर आप running करोगे तो your knees get
Your
knocked
knees.
out, this and
Oh
that. I
yeah,
mean,
absolutely. Oh my
this,
God, that's one that you keep hearing every day.
correct.
True.
And I mean, and then it's so much easier to get just building your mindset with a negative thought
Negative.
process into instead of positive. And then we can't, like runners, because we have heard this so many times over. I've been hearing this from last 20 years. I just don't, then I don't go and tell them that no, running is good for you. And then they come back in a month saying that my knees are actually hurting, my shin. Of course they're going to hurt
No,
in
they
the
will hurt.
first.
No, the very first time when you start,
Yeah,
if you start doing it a lot more, because you also have to gradually scale up. So yeah,
correct,
you hear these
correct.
kind of problems too.
Yeah. One more question comes to my mind when it comes to personal finance. While you've mentioned that you don't want to give out any specific formulas which influencers give, the 10,
Yeah.
30, 60 rule and all of those kind of rules, which could be very confusing. But just to put it simply, what where do you start your personal finance education, and how do you sort of experience money growing, seeing growing? And also, because there's a lot of uproar these days that the government is taxing us left, right, center in everything. All kinds of tax slabs are increasing. There's a conversation happening that we should just move out of India because the government is not giving any benefits to the taxpayers. So, any word of advice to the taxpayers, and how to actually visualize the money is growing, the coppers growing, without being
Have you heard
controversial?
that statement? The only thing certain is death and taxes.
Yeah,
So taxes are here to stay. We
right.
can kind of talk about it at length, and we can beat this topic to death. But
Hmm.
whatever the reality is, the taxes are here to stay.
Right,
And the idea always is to make sure how do you make the most of whatever is available to you to invest, and
right.
how can you take advantage of certain tax breaks that the government gives you, because they
Sure.
are also in a way trying to encourage you to save.
Hmm.
Okay, and every budget that you will say, and by the way, I'm not making it as a political statement, but
Sure.
I'm just trying to make it into a more of a financial planning statement, that every
Sure.
budget that you will see that there's a certain focus that the government has.
Hmm.
So for example, this time they were talking about NPS.
Hmm.
Okay, now it's something which I don't know how many people actually contribute in
Right.
NPS, right? I started doing that only about 2 years back, and
Right.
I do that as well. Besides
Yeah.
the contribution that I do, I have in the PF fund that I do
Sure.
and my employer does, but I started also putting some money aside in the
Hmm.
NPS as well. So I think the key is that you will have to look at each and every investment avenue in a full lens, which will also
Yeah.
include taxation. I remember I said earlier as well that you will pick your asset classes, and you will
Hmm.
also have to be choosy in those asset classes. Now, if you want to put
Hmm.
money in property and your property appreciation is not sufficient enough, and you want
Hmm.
to sell it, let's say for whatever reason you want to get out of that asset or
Hmm.
asset class or that particular property itself,
Right.
and you have to pay long-term capital gains tax on it, even though now it's been reduced from 20% to 12.5%, but the indexation benefit has gone.
Right.
You may not benefit at all from that investment.
Correct.
So you will have to be really very wise in terms of choosing
Hmm.
where you want to invest. Now, will you be right 100%? The answer is no.
Right.
Okay, that's definitely a no-no.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think which is where the diversification comes in.
Hmm.
So you do have some part of your corpus in debt fund where there is a certain fixed income coming
Hmm.
in. You will take some investments in
Hmm.
equity shares directly, because you know that these companies are doing well, or you've
Right.
done some research around them, and you know that in the long run they
Sure.
will obviously, the share price will only go up because they will continue to grow, because share
Hmm.
prices are all about growth only. You could invest in gold, silver, which is very opportunistic. You're finding that, interesting that we were also talking about, and I think you asked me as well that are there any books that I have read or any
Yeah.
podcast that I listen to?
Sure.
And I don't listen to any of these fin influencers or any of these
Right.
podcasts. I do listen to some of the commentaries that some market leaders make. So there are a few very, few CIOs that I really respect for their views, and I do listen to what they are saying. I do read
Hmm.
what they are, the columns that they write in the newspapers as well.
Sure.
But more importantly, just reading those books or
mm,
reading those
mm.
columns or just listening to the podcast is not enough. They're giving
Correct.
their perspective to you. They may be right, they may be wrong. And
Correct.
therefore, what is also important is to keep a track of what's happening
Mm,
globally. And there's a pattern. So, for example, there's a pattern between how the US dollar behaves and how the gold prices behave. And so, if you can just catch on to that, and if you can
mm,
have some sense around what's happening globally, that also
mm.
can help you take a decision of where you want to invest. Now,
Correct.
obviously, it doesn't happen overnight.
Mm,
It didn't happen to me overnight. It didn't happen to me the very first day when I went in to
mm,
make investment. For me, at that time, it was all about shares upar ja rahe hain.
mm,
I don't know which shares to buy, so let me put it in the equity mutual funds. And then, as I said, the Asian crisis happened and the
mm,
markets completely collapsed. But it is something which one should be aware of,
mm.
along with reading books, along with listening to podcasts and reading newspaper columns.
Absolutely. I think I have a very specific question because you are into meditation and long form meditation as well. Please do explain what you do there. But from your internalization, breath work, meditation, all of this enlightenment, so to say, or on the path of enlightenment, why do you see that humans want instant gratification in everything? It could be finance, it could be future, it could be just every workout, like even losing weight or building a corpus. Why are we skewed towards instant gratification instead of building a mindset of slow growth or slow learning, or just delaying the gratification part of it? Any thoughts on this?
Okay, so I'm a practicing Buddhist first of all.
Yes.
Okay, and I practice Buddhism, and I wish I had an answer for your question,
Hmm.
because um, you know I would actually say that if you really want to, I don't think there's an answer to why humans want instant gratification.
Hmm.
Uh, but the what some of these philosophies, including
Hmm.
the Buddhism, the Buddhist practice that I follow,
Hmm.
what they help you is actually take you on a path
Hmm.
where you realize that instant gratification is not everything in life.
Hmm.
There are no answers to why people crave for instant gratification. And
Hmm.
unfortunately for us, I would again say, I think that if you just think about your parents, they delayed the gratification. They
Correct.
saved and then they went and bought their first car. They
Hmm.
saved and then they took their family out for the first vacation. It was there. The delayed gratification was there. There was no instant gratification at that point in time. But I
Correct.
think it's a concept which has become prevalent or has become
Hmm.
more relevant for the generation today. And where
Hmm.
everything at the click of a button.
Correct.
And as I said, that my practice actually teaches me how I can get away from this whole thing about
Hmm.
instant gratification, about how one has to be patient, one has
Hmm.
to create the causes for
Hmm.
the effect to happen. You have to
Hmm.
first create those causes to be happy, to be able to get that new car, to be able to
Hmm.
get that new large bungalow that you've been wishing for. So
Right.
that's what my practice tells me. But I don't think there's anybody who can answer as to why. I think
Yeah.
everybody today is just on a, they're just in a hurry.
Dopamine induced
Yeah, they're just kind of in a
purchase.
rush for everything.
Yeah, yeah. Everything is now
Everything
prime
is
now.
now. Yeah, everything is now.
You before you place an order, you start tracking the moment the payment is.
Other than Nishant, and I must
Yeah.
say this, everything is now.
Hmm.
Other than that, when people have to take that first step towards fitness, then you find 110 reasons and excuses as to why I cannot go out for a run tomorrow
Yeah.
morning because I have to do this. I cannot go
Yeah.
out for a walk, or I cannot do the yoga because I have to do this. But
Correct.
for that, for everything
Yeah.
else, people just want everything done right now, and they will do it that at that very moment itself.
Absolutely. I think just to be able to train your mind better for delayed gratification, they should sign up for a ultra or maybe
Oh yeah,
or an Ironman.
absolutely. That's when they will realize, how hard it is. Uh,
Correct. Year, 2 years.
yeah,
It's
the
very good.
training period, and it's not just those 10, 12, 14 hours that you spend on the road doing an ultra
Yes.
or doing an Ironman, but it's a training that goes behind to get to
Yes.
that place where you kind of are at the start line itself. That's the first starting point. So absolutely.
Correct. All right. All right, so we have reached to the last segment of our show, which is around future. So, future is, it could be about future proofing your investments. It could be about building skills which will help you in future AI and all of that. You are at the helm of India's one of the largest BFSI organizations, and I'm very sure you're exposed to a lot of AI projects coming your way. How it'll help your organization and the cards industry in general. What are your thoughts on the AI transformation that enterprises are going at this moment? Are these really tangible benefits, or much of it is hype, how it was created through chat GPT and all of that? Because AI has been there for good 40, 50 years. It was there before internet as well. So
Yeah.
do you think today's hype is worth investing it and learning about it?
So I think AI is the future of the is the future, as people have been saying. I personally don't think that the hype that has been created that it's going to take away a lot of jobs, etc., is true. It's
Hmm.
yet to be seen, but it definitely is something which people should be aware of. I think that's the key thing. In our space, what I've seen is that there is a lot of technology platforms and different kinds of work that
Hmm.
are being doing in being able to
Hmm.
uh, process the data. Each one of us, as you would know and would also understand, that we leave footprints on the social media.
Right.
Every time that we log in somewhere, we give our Aadhaar card, we do
Hmm.
whatever. We just leave a footprint on the social
Hmm.
media, and there's just so much data that is available for companies to process. So I
Sure.
think the first and a very most important thing is for people to be able to understand the data that's available
Hmm.
and make sense out of it. When we collect data, we collect a lot of data points, but
Right.
only a few of them are relevant. And I think that's a big debate that's going on right now in the industry as well.
Yeah.
How do you ensure? You see, and also because when you collect a lot of this data, you also need servers to save that data. Whether it's
Correct.
in cloud or on-prem, whatever they are, you need servers also to, and
Right.
you're an IT person, so you would understand how much expense goes in just to
Sure.
build that server capacity and the storage capacity. So there is this big debate that's going on right now in terms of saying, uh, can we select what is required?
Hmm.
Because there's this huge amount of gigabytes and terabytes and gigabytes of data that's available, but not everything is relevant for us. So I think that's
Hmm.
very important for AI to be used for that purpose, to be
Sure.
able to select the kind of data that is required. The other thing that I've seen in the last, at least I would say, maybe the last 6 7 years in the
Hmm.
fintech industry is that all those startups
Hmm.
and those projects where people have tried to solve a niche problem
Hmm.
and not
Right.
reproduce or produce another product which is
Hmm.
available. They
Hmm.
may fine tune that product, add a bit more frills around it, and try and sell it
Hmm.
something different. Not
Hmm.
that, but really focus on solving for a very niche problem.
Hmm.
Those ventures have succeeded.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So, for example, things as simple as take the example of perfumes, for example.
Yeah.
The company which allows you to read a bank statement, which
Right.
comes not in numbers but in text or a PDF form, and you can read the data and you can then analyze that data and take a decision whether you want to lend money to this customer or not. It's a very niche kind of a problem. The
Hmm.
finance minister in this bill talked about digitizing the land records. Just
Right.
imagine the kind of data that is sitting on paper in the
Right.
wall somewhere, photocopies of or those deeds that have been signed by people, and to
Yeah.
digitize the entire thing. And probably today that's possible because you have GPS technology to be able to record the land, the areas,
Hmm.
dimensions, etc., the geopolitical
Hmm.
things, etc. So people will be able to find a solution for a niche
Hmm.
problem. I think those ventures will succeed more than people who are just
Hmm.
cloning and adding a few frills to
Hmm.
an already existing product. So I think those I would say is important, are where you will see success or for people to be successful. But
Sure.
yeah, AI is here to stay. AI
Right.
will be a part of our lives.
Right.
And I think the key will be for us to be able to read,
Hmm.
and I'm saying read, I don't mean literally read, but to be able
Hmm.
to understand and make sense out of the data that AI gives us.
Right.
Use that system and that power to be able to extract all the relevant data, and for us to be able to make sense out of it, that will be the skill set that will be required. And then
Amazing.
also to find probably creative solutions for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right. So, one last question on the future aspect of it. You have been a BFSI leader for almost 3 decades now. You have seen so many industries within BFSI, banking, coming up big time. Then insurance got started in 2000s. Then the cards companies coming in later in that decade. So many other investment companies coming up, becoming digitized or more enterprise in nature. That was the last 30 years. As per you, what kind of fintech companies will come up in the future? Is it going to be more hyper personalized? Are
Yeah.
some of these companies going to be relevant in the next 30 years for, let's say, the next generation? And if a youngster is watching today, or even a experienced person in fintech or BFSI, what kind of companies should they be looking at to building or building their careers in?
So one, Nishant, I don't think that traditional brick and mortar businesses or traditional businesses like
Hmm.
banking are going to go away, or a credit card
Right.
will go away, or a
Right.
personal lending will go away, insurance will go away. The form factor will change. So, for example, even today, for example, in our industry, when we talk about a credit card, people have stopped, or at least very soon they will stop talking about the plastic that you get and which you carry in your wallet. It will be something which will be on your phone. That's happening. So same thing for insurance, same thing for banking. Now, of course, you have all these neobanks where they don't have branches. Take the case of Revolut, for example, in the UK. They don't have branches. It's all available on the app, on the net. So the form factor will change, but these products, these services will be required. I think
Hmm.
that's the one thing. And the other thing is that you have these things that become a fancy. For example, as you said, insurance became a big fancy for people to join because the sector was just opening out, etc.
Right.
And therefore, some of these things become prevalent in that sense, in that time period. What will also happen is, as you rightly said, that whichever industry that you're in, what will be then important will be
Hmm.
hyper personalization.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
whole customization of the product and the service for the customer will be a
Hmm.
key differentiator, and will be something which will give edge to that company. And which is
Hmm.
why what I said earlier, that how do you hyper personalize, how do you
Hmm.
customize, how do you make sure that you have a tailor-made solution for the customer. And it is not about saying I have a solution for all 25-year-old, but
Hmm.
it's about saying I have a solution for 25-year-olds who live in
Hmm.
Delhi, which is
Hmm.
different from a 25-year-old who lives in Mumbai, which is different
Hmm.
from a 25-year-old who lives in Bangalore. Be
Correct.
able to customize solutions or to customize
Hmm.
products and services to that extent will be important. And that will only happen, as I said earlier,
Hmm.
when we're able to make sense out of the data that's coming to us.
Right.
Because each of these three different categories are
Hmm.
giving you a lot of data.
Right.
One, you can just generalize it and say, hey, I'm going to look at 25-year-olds in India.
Hmm.
Or you can actually pick up the nuances that a cohort of a 25-year-olds in Delhi have.
Hmm.
And maybe even within Delhi, for that matter, you may have something different for people in West Delhi and something different for
Right.
people in South Delhi as well. So the
Right.
whole ability to be able to make sense out of that data is going to be important. And
Right.
I think that is going to be a big differentiator for people who.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying people who are even people who are going to be picking up AI as a future career option for themselves. This
Right.
will be a skill set, and this is something which is going to be very important and a differentiator for them.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. You have been so kind with your time, your thoughts, and sharing the wealth of experience from 3 decades on finance, fitness, future. Any parting thoughts, last thoughts from your Buddhist teaching for the audience to remember and internalize, or anything in general? Any advice you'd like to give people watching this today?
Okay, so it's something that I share with people, and I'll have to kind of talk about myself before I share the
Please.
thing that when you please, again, it's a cliche when people tell you, and you will read it in books when people say, pursue your passion. I tell people that pursue your passion not just for your own happiness, but for the
Hmm.
happiness of others. Think about others, because when I started running 15 years back,
Hmm.
it was for my own personal gain. It was
Right.
for my own health. It was for my own happiness. Little did I realize at that point in time that I'll have so many women who will come up to me later and say, Rashmi, we're inspired by you. And today, when you
Hmm.
stand on the start line of any running event, you see
Hmm.
a crowd of women who are there,
Hmm.
who've taken time out of their busy schedules, like I did at
Right.
some point in time, and who are there, who trained hard for years and years and months to come and start on the start line. So I would only just say pursue your passion. It
Right.
may be selfish in the beginning, but
Right.
you never know whose life you're touching uh,
Correct.
as you are working on that.
Correct.
So think about others, and selfishly think about yourself first, but think about others as well, and do your bit.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rashmi. You've been so kind.
Thank you,
I'm
Nishant.
sure.
It's a pleasure speaking to you.
Likewise, likewise. Thank you so much, audience. If you've stuck around for the entire conversation of over an hour, I will put Rashmi's Instagram ID and LinkedIn ID in the show notes. You may reach out to her. She's super kind if when it comes to life advice and everything in between.
Thank you.
Uh, let's continue to train, endure, conquer. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much.